Welcome to the introduction for the Basis of Estimates. My name is Melissa Hollis. I'm in the Program Management Office. We do have a handout available. It is on our Program Management homepage. It will guide you through much of the presentation and some of the details. And we do maintain this one throughout the year, so feel free to look here on our homepage for additional notes. Today, I've broken our presentation into two parts. This is part one with the introduction, and we'll go through the various chapters of the Basis of Estimates from 1 through 10. And that includes addressing updates, our various applications, how to request a new item, and how to coordinate some of the specifications, and finally a little bit about summary boxes. Part two of the presentation will be available, and that will get into pay item updates and specific pay items throughout the Basis of Estimates. Looking a little closer at chapters 1 through 10, chapter 1 addresses the updates and registration, chapter 2 the units of measure including the precision, chapter 6 with requesting items, 7 with some various design tools including the pay item notes and some do's and don'ts, and chapter 8 with a summary box. Okay, for chapter 1 and our updates and registration, please note that the e-updates is available through the FDOT web pages, and it is the top of most of our DOT pages with the DOT logo on it. And we also have a link on our Basis of Estimates page, but this will take you to the contact mailer. And this is sort of a do-it-yourself application where you can register for various documents available from the department, including updates to the design manual, the design standards, construction project administration manual, and many other design tools. So feel free to please check out our contact mailer. I want to distinguish between major updates and minor updates. Major updates are usually accompanied by a bulletin to address a policy change, generally either a specification, a standard, and/or a combination of the PPM or FDM changes will be included. We generally try to allow for 6 to 12 months notice prior to the letting date in which it's implemented, and we try to ensure that we've coordinated implementation. If there's a summary box change that needs to be coordinated through the CAD office, or changes in those guidance instructions, we try to ensure that those are coordinated between the various offices. Different from our major changes, we may have some minor changes. If there's a clarification needed in a BOE detail that does not affect the overall intent, if there's a typographical change, an expanded pay item structure, that additional sizes, materials, or operations are requested and already covered by existing specifications or standards. These are made available as soon as possible, so the effective dates may vary. And if there is a project that is negatively impacted, we'll generally contact the district offices so that the project managers can be advised of those changes. So these updates, the announcements that are sent out through the contact mailer, can go through the design, construction, or program management office. We've even had other offices as needed. We do advise that you update your preferences every 6 to 12 months. By reviewing the contact mailer, you will ensure that any new options available, you can either select or deselect so that we do not send out any junk email or those that you're not interested. So please make sure that you've maintained your preferences. Moving on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2, we address the units and precision of our pay items and quantities. And most of our pay items are recorded to the nearest whole number, but we do have some that are measured to the tenth of a cubic yard, a cubic foot, the tons, or 1,000 board foot of lumber. And those include some concrete items, some asphalt items, and our fender systems. Our acres item that you typically see for clearing and grubbing secondary units are measured to the hundredths of an acre. And then some of our striping and pavement marking items are measured to a thousandths of a gross mile. We'll talk about some of our precision in a few moments. Whenever we're doing measurement or calculations, we always use one additional decimal place. Then the subtotal is rounded up or rounded down, as we learned in 3rd grade. Numbers from 0.1 to 0.4 are rounded down. Numbers from 0.5 through 0.9 are rounded up. The designer interface will verify that the appropriate number of significant figures are used beyond the decimal place. In our maintenance offices, sometimes they do not use the designer interface but enter items directly into PRP or our project pre-construction application software. And so we do want to ensure that those error checks have been run so that we are maintaining the same precision for those pay items. Down at the bottom, we have some that have asked us about changing the precision on some of our pay items, specifically for striping, because we sometimes use an 8-inch gross mile item, but we're using very small quantities. So while it sounds like a better idea to switch between the gross mile and the linear foot item, when you look at the unit costs, it doesn't seem to work out quite as well. The proposal was to go between the, for the solid stripe, to go from the gross mile to the linear foot. But the problem that's introduced is which item to use for which situations. And so we do want to avoid any conflicts. So we have to ensure that our method of measurement is as indicated in the specification. So rather than having the specification addressing both unit of measure and possible conflicts for application, we've denied this proposal just to minimize those conflicts and to always use a consistent unit of measure. Alphabet soup. I know some of our applications can get confusing, but I'll attempt to walk through some of the more commonly used terms to help you understand them. The application used by our estimators is known as DQE, or Design Quantities and Estimates, and that includes the basis of estimate, the master pay item list, and various estimating tools used by the estimators for pricing. Generally, we use it for any time up through the letting and award. Our AASHTOWare software has been around for many years. Back in the late 1990s, we began using transport, but transport became obsolete a couple years and was replaced by project pre-construction. I know we all use the term transport nowadays and everyone understands, but the proper application name is PRP. For those in our construction office, once our project transfers over from PRP to the construction field, we switch over in applications to a new application called Site Manager. This is where the inspectors record our pay items and quantities as used on the project. Many of you are familiar with our FDOT Webgate. That's where our designer interface and various reports are housed. These were created by DOT for use by DOT, and you can request access to those for anyone that has a RACF user ID. Those of you who use the term CES, like myself, are showing your age, because CES was a pre-1999 mainframe system. It was also the name for our cost estimating system back in the days with transport, but CES is not a valid term anymore, and you need to be very clear as to what you're actually referring to when you use that term. But there are a few of us that have been around for a long time, and old habits die hard, but we do try to use the new terminology. Some of you may have heard the term FUSE. FUSE was the name that was assigned to our Florida Unified System for Estimating. Unfortunately, that system has been placed on hold, and we are continuing ongoing work for establishing a new system to incorporate multiple systems into one that would replace our long-range estimating system, our DQE system, the designer interface, and the PRP needs prior to the letting. So we are continuing to work with our Office of Information Technology, and we'll keep you posted as that proposal continues to develop. Looking a little bit at the PS&E package. Most of our designers are very familiar with the standard plans and the design standards. Please remember that the standard plans are as much a part of your overall plans package as the actual sheets that you draw. They are included by reference, but are legally a part of the contract package. Similar, the specifications include the standard specs, the supplemental specs, the special provisions, modified special provisions, otherwise known as MSPs, or tech specs, sometimes referred to as TSPs. All of these make up the specifications and are modified by the governing order. But we'll talk a little bit more about specifications and how they interact in a few moments. Finally, we have the estimates. While some people like to refer to the bottom line dollar total as the estimate, please keep in mind that just like a budget, it's not just the bottom line, but it's all the items and components that go into the that bottom line total. So we look at the pay items, all of the quantities clearly identified by location, and the unit prices that are all parts of making up that final bottom line dollar total for our estimate. We'll talk a little bit more about what needs to be submitted at what phase, but we refer to the FDM as to which items should be loaded at which phase. Taking a closer look at our standard plans, they are available on our Office of Design webpage, but please note not just the indexes and their titles, but there's a column there for the SPIs, the standard plans instructions. The standard plans instructions are very important to us as they often address the measurement and payment associated with that design standard. We want to ensure that we're always using the correct pay item with the applicable specs and standards, not just a pay item that sounds close enough. Looking closer at the standard plans, you'll recognize a plan sheet there on the left. But again, looking closer at the standard plans, the design instructions reminds you of the design criteria and any assumptions, as well as the summary box information and pay item guidance. Always make sure that you understand the design assumptions and limitations when using a design standard. A few basics about specifications. A complete specification includes the description, the materials, the construction or end result requirements, a method of measurement, and a basis of payment. Same as the design standards, we want to ensure that we know what these specs and standards contain before we add them in, either by reference or by note in your plans. Make sure that you know and understand the references. When we refer to an AASHTOW or other industry standard, there may be implications as to what it is applicable for. All right, looking closer at the description. The description may be as simple as a sentence, or it may be as shown on an index or as shown in the plans. Sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words, so your drawings in the plans are very descriptive as to what we are trying to design. Continuing on with the materials. Sometimes we want to refer to our materials spec as part of the overall spec book, and we can refer to a section number. Sometimes we refer to an ASTM or a particular grade of steel or other material. We always want to ensure that we do not sole source unless we have followed the proper procedure. That procedure is available on our program management website through the product evaluation office. The construction. Sometimes we want to detail a method or step-by-step guidance. Sometimes we just want to refer to in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Oftentimes our instructions just tell the contractor to do this: dig a hole, place the concrete, etc. Sometimes our specs are written based on acceptance criteria. Ensure that some result is accomplished. Always be careful that we don't include both. We can either tell the contractor how to do it, or we can give them the end result as to what we want, but never both. The method of measurement. Here we're talking about not just the unit of measure, the linear feet or the cubic yards of an item, but how is it measured? Are we going to use a planned quantity measurement? Are we going to measure it in place, such as a field quantity? Are we going to use a metered device, such as pavement markings and how many feet or miles we travel? Are we going to measure the truckloads? Are we going to measure it on the plans from point A to point B? Do we actually want to measure something along the slope rather than just a plan view? Do we want to do just the horizontal distance, even though we know conduit goes down, across, and then back up? Or do we want to allow for other allowances, such as the excess that may be needed for installation but is later cut off? Always address how something is measured when we're addressing the method of measurement. The basis of payment. Usually we indicate that full compensation for all work and materials in that specification section. But we also want to sometimes take care of what incidental materials are referenced. Are there any materials that are not included or that should be paid separately? All of these need to be addressed in your basis of payment. We'll talk a little bit more about the specifications and pay item, but before I do that, I want to point out a few details on how the specs and pay items work together. The first 3 digits of a pay item normally apply to the specs section. So you can easily see that a pay item beginning with 700 has a 700 specification. So always look at the pay item you're proposing to use, and if the specs don't apply, don't use that pay item. The master pay item list has many items that sound similar, such as sealant, but it may have many different applications. So always look at the applicable spec section and verify if that specification applies. Never use the master pay item list as just a shopping list for something that sounds close enough. Additional pay items are always available upon request. If you need additional operations such as a relocate, a repair, or refurbish, or you need an additional size or material, please work through your district estimates office and they will get in contact with us, and we often will ask if the specification covers these additional sizes or materials, or we will work together to determine whether a plan detail or some other specification may be appropriate. So when asking for those pay items, always look at the existing item, and you can send us an email. There's no need to copy out the BOE text. We have that readily available. But we do try to respond within 24 hours. If you're within a critical time, please let us know so that we can respond to that as soon as possible. But it's always helpful if you will share information related to your project so that we can determine if this is a project-specific need or a general need that will be shared by others. Some of the questions that we ask: is this covered by the specs or standards? Are there new products that are applicable? And it does help us if you can send us the applicable details or plan sheets, product-specific information. And we want to always include our FDOT project manager, the district estimator, and the basis of estimates coordinator, so that we can work together. Oftentimes, we will ask the responsible office to review something. If it's a drainage item, we want to get input from the drainage office. If it's a structures item, we may want to get input from the structures office. These responsible offices are very busy with many activities, but they do respond generally within 3 to 5 days. If it goes beyond that, a friendly reminder is always welcome. Actual opening of the pay item generally only takes us a few moments once we have received approval from the responsible office. What is the responsible office looking for? Sometimes they want to know where this is located. How will a drainage a drainage item be impacted by the surrounding conditions? Will this be used for just 1 or 2 projects, or is this likely a standard spec type of change that needs to be available for others? Does a standard index cover this situation? Are there approved products available on the APL? Are we looking at a sole source situation? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Or are there other design or material alternatives that need to be considered? Plan and pay item notes. Sometimes we'll see somebody that wants to ensure that a particular note is included in the cost of a widget. So they will propose adding a pay item note. Unfortunately, the note often shows up in the plans just as pay item includes A, B, and X, whatever the new item is that we're including in there. Sounds like a great idea, but please be reminded that in our FDM that we do require that notes do not restate, broaden, or curtail requirements in the standard specifications or the standard plans. Why would this note not be a good idea? Well, if the specification indicates that payment includes A, B, C, D, and E items, but the pay item note includes only A, B, and X, we have introduced a conflict. X wasn't part of what was included in the standard specification, but the pay item note has now excluded C, D, and E. If there's any field issues out there, we have a pay item note in conflict with our specification, and this is never a good situation to be in. Whenever we have a conflict within the contract documents, we have a potential claim. So just don't do it. Read the specification before you use a pay item note. From the roadway criteria section, we have some FDM guidelines we'd like to remind you of. We want to use FHWA's plain language guidelines. We use the word must when we need it. We use active voice, use present tense, and avoid using if-then statements whenever possible. We try to use short sentences and omit unnecessary words. There are many other guidelines, and I would strongly recommend that you read the FDM to see some of the other examples for writing out your specifications or plan notes. Other items in Chapter 7 of the Basis of Estimates, we do address plan notes, including pay item notes, and we remind you, do not change the specifications, do not conflict with the specifications, and do not duplicate the specifications. Always work with your district specs office to correctly modify the specs, and whether that's through a modified special provision or a text spec, they will be able to help you. Just some guidelines on whether we want a text spec or an MSP. The MSP is generally used to change an existing standard specification. A text spec is generally used to cover situations without an existing spec. Again, always work with your district specs office, as there may be exceptions depending on the specific project needs. They do have a text spec library available with some past specs, and while that's a great starting point, it should never be used without updating it for your specific project needs. That's why we have it as technical. It was designed specifically for a given situation. So please remember to update the spec and review any references contained within it. And it is helpful, though, if we have a repeat need over multiple projects, that these text specs can lead to future spec development. Okay, so when do we want a text spec and when do we need a plan note? If you remember, I had started off with describing what a complete specification included: the description, the materials, construction, measurement, and payment. So plan notes are great for project-specific information. They're great when the specification says, as specified in the plans or contract documents. Quantity and location-specific information, we would recommend using the summary box design notes column. If it's just a matter of use plastic pipe here or a different material there, we can put that in the design notes column as needed, as long as we're not in conflict with any part of the specification or standard. Proprietary products. We want to always be careful about sole sourcing. There are times when it is perfectly acceptable to sole source something, and that's when we have compatibility or synchronization issues, when it is unique or no suitable alternative is available, or when there's a performance requirement and no accessible alternative. Designer preference or local agency preference are never an acceptable reason for sole sourcing. If there's any question or concern, always contact the Product Evaluation Office for assistance. If you have a new product that's been brought to your attention that you would like to use, please work through product evaluation, as they do have procedures available for requests to experiment. Chapter 8 addresses summary boxes. We often encourage using the design notes column for location-specific information. On the example that we have, we use the design notes column to clearly distinguish between our various ramp locations from our mainline station location and offsets. For lump sum pay items, we want to ensure that all the quantities are identified by location, especially when there's a secondary unit of measure. For lump sum projects, complete summary boxes are still required to show all quantities by location, but we don't put in the total quantities. That total column is left blank. We go into great detail in Chapter 8 to distinguish between when to use the design notes column and when to use different pay items or specific summary boxes. So please make sure that you are familiar with Chapter 8 and follow any guidance in bulletins that may be issued. Some of the highlights in Chapter 8, we want to make sure that you understand that we do not permit any custom summary boxes. You cannot create your own summary boxes or rename the summary boxes. There are some allowances for removing unused columns, but we want to ensure that we never remove the construction notes column, as we need to have that available for those in final estimates or inspecting quantities out in the field. We do have a list of summary boxes, and we've added some that have some summary boxes that have been new in the past few months, and additional summary boxes will be added in 2019 for some of our new specification items that are available, including temporary highway lighting and pedestrian special detours. Details on those will be discussed in project specific or pay item specific issues in part 2. For lump sum pay items, we have added text in Chapter 8 to require the summary of the quantities based on the secondary units. So again, while our clearing and grubbing is a lump sum acre, we pay for it as one lump sum, but we want to ensure that all of the acres to the appropriate precision are identified clearly in the plans. Similarly, for irrigation systems, even though it's a lump sum pay item, we want to ensure that the bidder knows exactly how many feet of irrigation pipe will be needed and how many sprinkler heads or other equipment may be needed. Finally, on our lump sum days, for example, our lump sum for maintenance of traffic, we want to ensure that the contractor knows how many days that we are anticipating based on for all of our project estimates there. It provides them a basis for producing their lump sum bid price. Some of the other changes that have been made in the past months have been adding text to require whole numbers for each day items. We've seen some creative math in the past where the total was then divided by the number of days, and we ended up with non-integer numbers for items of equipment, and we want to ensure that we are using whole numbers there for individual items. Temporary signalization. We do recommend using the design notes column to identify the intersections. We do have some guidance on the temporary signalization, and we want to ensure that the bidders understand which locations those are used for. Our summary of permanent barriers was formerly labeled summary of barrier wall. And the change there was very minor to update the title based on the specification and standard index terminology. We've also added text to clarify for plans with multiple projects how to clearly label the summary boxes with the FPID number on them. We've also updated existing PPM references over to our FDM, and while we've made a lot of changes there, there are many pay items that still have old PPM references. We've been assured by the design standards folks that those cross-references between the old and the new, between the criteria and the design guidance will be maintained for a while there so that we can still find all of those old references. We have had a request from our construction office for summary boxes that are totaled at the bottom to please leave 2 empty rows before the subtotal. This allows our construction office to put any notes in there. And the CAD office will review the automated summary boxes to incorporate this request. Requirements that the construction office will also be enforcing that we do not allow any comments or revision symbols in the construction remarks column. Again, they need to reserve that space for the remarks during the construction period. Also, do not reduce the summary box font or the overall size of the box. While it may allow for better presentation on the page, it has caused issues with sufficient space for noting construction remarks and or revisions. Okay, so looking ahead to our 3D plans. If you remember our tabulation sheets, if you can picture one, we tabulate our by sheet number, by plan sheet number. So we need to begin looking ahead at our tabulation sheets and how they will be switching over in the coming years to be noted by station location and offset. So just something to think about, and we'll continue to look ahead to those in the future. So the answer to our question there on tabulation, why do tabulation sheets need to become obsolete in the coming years? Because we will not have the plan sheets for reference purposes. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office. We appreciate your time, and we are always available either from our Program Management Office webpage or directly by email or by phone. Again, we appreciate your time and have a good day.